When I was 17 years old, I was a consultant for the Pentagon and was working at a place in Stamford, Connecticut called Huyck, Huyck Corporation. And the man who was in charge of Huyck Corporation was William O. Davis. And he was former director in charge of the Office of Scientific Research at the Pentagon. And so William O. Davis was in charge of this Pentagon think tank. And there at this think tank was Dr. Henri Coanda, Henricoanda. And he discovered what is known in aerodynamics and fluid dynamics as the Coanda effect. So he's 78 years old, I'm 17 years old, and we go to his, I guess it was by then maybe his 79th birthday party. That was on a weekend, and on Monday he called me into his office at the lab, and he said, "Patrick, you remind me of myself when I was your age." And he said, "And I've been doing research on the fountain of youth and the ability to live long without aging, longevity." And he said, "The fountain of youth really is based on a real thing. It's not some kind of legend, but it's based on a real thing. That behind every legend is some reality." And he said, "I have been researching water and looking for the fountain of youth for 60 years. And I know the answer, and I'm going to give you all my research," because he said, "Someday you will discover the secret of Hunza water." Because he had been to Hunzaland at the turn of the century, when you had to hike across jungles and deserts and climb mountain peaks and go back into jungles again. It took 3 months to hike to Hunzaland to get to this place north of Pakistan, which the movie Lost Horizons was based on. And so he went to this place and he discovered that these people were healthy and that they had a well in the middle of town that had clear water, but the Hunza people wouldn't drink it. They drank the water coming from the glaciers. And other people thought that water was dirty because it was full of minerals, and tourists preferred the water from the well in the middle of Hunzaland. But the Mir, the king of Hunza, and his people all drank the water from the glacier. And he said, "I can tell you what the characteristics of that water are, but I can't tell you how to make it." But he said, "I'm going to give you all the characteristics of the best water on earth." And he said, "Someday you will discover the secret of Hunza water, and you will create water that will benefit everyone on earth." When we're born, our bodies are 90% water as babies. And as we grow older, our brains are still 90% water. The rest of the body averages about 70% water. As we get older, we tend to become dehydrated because our cells don't absorb the water we drink. It just goes around the cells and out the kidneys, but the cells, you can drink a huge amount of water, ordinary water, and your cells remain dehydrated. In other words, they're all shriveled up even though you're drinking lots of water. And as we get older, we lose our sense of thirst. So we tend to lose our ability to know that our cells are thirsty. And this can happen quite young in life. By the time you're 30, most people don't even know if their bodies need water or not. And one of the ways that you can tell if you're dehydrated is headaches. The sense of thirst no longer applies because most people can be severely dehydrated and not even have a sense of thirst anymore. The other thing is that there are people who can be bloated with water. That is, their faces are all puffy, their bodies are all puffy, and yet their cells are dehydrated. And so when we're talking about hydration of the cells, you have to look, there are devices for measuring their impedance meters that measure the percentage of fat, percentage of protein, the amount of water in the cells versus the external water around the cells. And we've used those instruments, and in some of the papers we've published, we talk about them and how these instruments can actually measure cellular hydration. Crystal energy increases the flow of nutrients across cell membranes, both water-soluble and lipid or fat-soluble nutrients across the cell membranes 2.5 times faster than ordinary water. And it also accelerates the removal of toxins from the body 2.5 times faster. Now, that may not sound like much, but if you take a river that's flowing, depending on the speed of the river, there's geological formulas for calculating how much silt and how much that river can hold depending on the rate of flow. Now, if you double the rate of flow of the water, it can hold 64 times as much silt and other particles as it did. Just double the rate 64 times. If you double that again, it's 64 times 64. And that's why, when you have a rainstorm and the creek rises and suddenly giant boulders are going down the creek, that's because of the power of water. Now, if you go back to the cell, if you increase the rate of flow of water across the cell membranes 2 times, you've increased the amount of nutrients it can transfer 64 times. And so that's the secret of crystal energy. And megahydrate doesn't do that because it doesn't change the water. That's why we recommend that you put crystal energy in everything you drink, and that you then take megahydrate for the negative hydrogen ion. So crystal energy technically is not meant to be an antioxidant. It gives you the perfect water, the best water that you can drink, to increase the rate of flow of nutrients across some membranes, and also the rate of flow of toxins out of the cells for elimination from the body.